Hello, everybody. It is the Tuesday night report for the 15th day of March, now the 16th day of March. This is the American Dufus channel. This is news done differently. I'm your host, Barry Welsh. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like, share, and leave a comment. If you are on Facebook or Twitter, then please follow. And I only see comments. I think at the moment I'm only seeing comments from those on YouTube. So again, thank you all for watching. And the news, got the map up here. The Polish Prime Minister of Poland, Prime Minister of the Czech Republic, and the Prime Minister of Slovakia all traveled by train to Kyiv and met with President Zelensky of Ukraine earlier today. I just want to get that information out, and I'm going to expand on it a little bit. Some developments after that meeting happened. President Zelensky addressed the Canadian Parliament today via video, and he addresses the United States Congress tomorrow at 9 a.m. The defense ministers from NATO are going to be meeting. And there is a NATO exercise going on, and I'm going to be talking about that coming up too. But I want to show you Norway right here. This is where the NATO exercise is going on. Distance from Norway to Russia. And we'll talk more about that. And President Biden is going to Brussels next week on March 24th. And there will be a meeting of all the leaders of NATO. It's rather unprecedented, just as the meeting of all the defense ministers coming up either tomorrow. It has not been announced for security reasons, the exact date, but got something in my tooth. Sorry. It hadn't been announced the exact date, but sometime between tomorrow and Thursday, the defense ministers will meet from all the NATO countries. And Russia has imposed sanctions on some people in the United States. We'll talk about that as well in depth coming up. And I mention it without going into a bunch of detail because last night we showed that a Russian, a member of the Russian TV station jumped up with a sign saying no war and the government's telling you lies, and she was arrested, and then we reported this afternoon that she was fined 30,000 rubles, which is the equivalent of $250, and set free. And it was a ploy. She was a shill. It wasn't a real protest. It was staged so that Russia can say, see, we don't, she got, $250 and she's free. That's what we do with protesters. We don't mistreat protesters, despite everything we've seen. Okay. This sanctions thing is the same. It was hilarious. Last night I was in a group and I was joking and I said, oh, well, yeah, now, Russia's going to sanction a bunch of people in America that it's going to have absolutely no impact, but, he's going to do it to tell the Russian people, oh, see, I do sanctions too. Now they're all crippled like we are. And the Russian people will buy it. I was joking but he did it. And it's rather crazy. He sanctioned a bunch of people that'll have absolutely no impact on Prime Minister Trudeau of Canada, Hillary Clinton, um, President Biden, the press secretary, and you know, it, it's a joke to us, but it's it's a statement. It's not, we all know it's ridiculous. Everybody knows it's ridiculous except Donald Trump. But the people in Russia and Donald Trump and Tucker Carlson, they all are going to make a big deal out of it. And and it's just his way of letting the people know that, see, I'm putting sanctions on them too. They're going to be in the same situations that we are, and we're tougher and we can withstand this longer. It's all a mind. He's all screwing with people's minds in his own country. So the sanctions thing, it'll be all over the internet for the next day or so, and then it'll be totally forgotten because it's going to have absolutely no relevance. Okay, so we got the map up. Norway, this is where the NATO exercises are going on, and about 30,000 NATO troops are gathered here, practicing, simulating, and again, more information coming up on that. So let's get into the nightly report, and let's do this. Let's flip over here to check our flight radar. And again, Norway, this is where the NATO drills are going on, and not a lot of traffic. Not a lot of traffic over North Korea either. They apparently tried to launch a ballistic missile earlier tonight, and according to the reports, they tried to launch into space an intercontinental ballistic missile capable of striking the United States from North Korea. That's the goal. And apparently, it failed shortly after launch, and or maybe we failed shortly after launch. I showed you earlier in the afternoon episode the flight path of a U.S. Air Force plane over the Sea of Japan that was monitoring what was going on with North Korea. So maybe we knew it was coming and we made sure it failed. Probably not. Probably North Korea messed it up, which is even more scary because they're going to keep trying. And normally when these tests are done, they're done with a bit of certainty, and you know where the missile's going to land, even if it's, these things are massive. They're huge. And even without warheads on them, they can cause devastation and destruction. And so even if they don't have nuclear capabilities, just the fact that North Korea is shooting anything potentially up into space should be concerning for everyone. And when we found out they were trying to do it, we were all concerned. I was ready for breaking news, but we made sure that we knew all the facts before coming on and reporting it. So when I get to that part of the report coming up, we've already covered it. Forte 11, back to our map. Forte 11 is and has been circling over Poland, keeping an eye on the Belarus border. Remember, a couple of days back, we had some information about some Belarusian troops heading towards Brest, the city right here near the border with Poland, about 12 miles away from the border of Poland. So Forte 11 might be keeping an eye on them too. We got the information from somebody in a car, drove by and saw the massive convoy and photographed it and followed them. And if you watch this afternoon when we checked Forte 11, who's again still in the air, Forte 11 was all over the place down here in the Black Sea. That's because the Russian Navy was attempting to possibly make an amphibious landing and take the city of Odessa, which is right here in this corner. And there are reports, unconfirmed reports, that one of the Russian ships was hit by a missile itself and is on fire at sea. That's unconfirmed. What is confirmed is there is massive communication going on through the Russian Navy in the Black Sea, and most of it's coded, but it's also being transmitted in Morse code. So it's being transmitted in Morse code, and the transmission is coded. Okay, so but from sources, there may be a naval ship from the Russian Navy on fire, and that's unconfirmed. But we will have it tomorrow. We'll let you know tomorrow if indeed it is a fact. But anyway, Forte 11, the Global Hawk drone home base is down here in Sicily, off the coast of Italy, and again spent the entire afternoon up here. Again, we watched it on a little bit on the afternoon update, and has since transversed up here to Poland. Again, keeping an eye on Ukraine and the Polish-Belarusian border. A lot of scuttlebutt that Russia is really trying to push Belarus into active combat, and the especially the Belarusian soldiers themselves, are saying no, we don't want this. So Belarus did enact a new constitution today, which allows Russia to place nuclear weapons in Belarus. So that's a development that we're going to want to keep our eyes on. And let's hop over and take a look at the cameras. We're going to be getting towards dawn here before too much longer in the cities. And this is Kyiv. This is Kyiv. And this is Lviv. This is also Kyiv. So you got three looks at Kyiv. And in case you're wondering why there's absolutely no activity going on, there is a 36-hour curfew in Kyiv. That means you can't leave your house. You're on lockdown for 36 hours. They're under martial law there because of the wartime. And basically, if you are a good Ukrainian Kyiv resident, you'll stay locked down for 36 hours, because anybody that's out moving around during that 36-hour period is automatically going to be considered enemy, and you wouldn't want to do that. Okay, that's why it's being done. It's not repression. It's not, it's wartime. And for those that are curious about why are they on 36-hour lockdown, there are mercenaries. There's a bounty on his head, I guarantee it. And Zelensky is not afraid. So it makes sense tactically to have a 36-hour curfew imposed, a day and a half, to kind of see where the bad guys might be. You know, that's what it's all about. So let's see. Let's start here. Anonymous. I don't know if you've heard of Anonymous or not. Anonymous, I'll introduce you in just a few minutes a little bit further. But Anonymous hacks into a Russian firm's nuclear plant. There's one company that owns the nuclear power plants in Russia, a friend of Putin's, by the way, you think maybe? And this plant, Rostom, Rosatom, they are the same company that has said we now own the Ukrainian power plants, Chernobyl and Zaporizhzhia. So Anonymous hacked into the Rosatom website. They linked gigabytes of data, and which are certain IT people, it's a dream to have gigabytes of data released because analysis is to follow. That's not my thing, but it is a potentially important thing. And let me just give you a little bit more on Anonymous for those that don't know. I actually got this before I got the notification that they had already been successful. So,
being citizens of the world, we are anonymous. When Russia invaded Ukraine, we declared cyber war against government of Russia and the man himself, Vladimir Putin.
And by the way, they have hacked into, and we reported this on here, but for those that may not have seen that report, they hacked into all of the Russian TV stations, and they played actual footage of what was really and truly happening in Ukraine, as well as various messages. They also hacked into 7 million different individual Russian cell phones and gave them the truth. Okay. So just as a little background to what you're going to be hearing.
Indeed had some effect on them, but now we'll have to prepare for the last push. He isn't giving up on taking over Ukraine. We must hit them so hard that it'll paralyze the whole system. Putin cannot end the war in Ukraine until he has annexed it, or he is forced to. And NATO and EU won't be the ones stopping him. We have seen that already. So now, we must act. We must stop this war by any means necessary. 10 years ago, Time listed Anonymous as one of the 100 most influential people in the world. Now, we are bigger and stronger than ever before. We must show our true power to Russian government and their president, Vladimir Putin. We must unite, or else there might be a day that it's too late to do it. Putin must be stopped, or else we'll suffer the consequences. Anons all over the world, hackers, activists, journalists, all over the world must unite. All of you, everyday people, must also unite. We as one can decide what will our destiny be like. We are the ones who own our lives, let's not forget that. Do not let anyone to cause you suffering that you do not deserve. Stand up against your oppressor, we will, as one. We will stand with you through the journey, from dusk till dawn. Decide your destiny. This is a message from Anonymous. GhostSec, Shadow Security and Squad 303, Operation Russia, the anonymous collective of the cyber warriors from across the planet. On March 15, 2022, we call upon our brothers and sisters to join forces. Let's hit them with everything we got. We will not stop until Ukraine is free. We are Anonymous. We are Legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us.
So that gives you an idea.
We are anonymous.
Gives you an idea for those that don't know who Anonymous are, and a very effective group. Why does it matter? Well, think about it. We haven't had cyber attacks here. We haven't lost power. We haven't lost internet. We haven't lost even social media. No government agencies shut down. Nothing's been happening here. Why? Because thanks to Anonymous, thank you, Anonymous, thanks to United States cyber warriors employed by the government, thanks to you, thanks to individuals that are just, you know what, I can't do a lot, but man, I can mess around with, and you do your hacking thing. Thanks to you. And yeah, I know some of you that are watching this are going, and no, I'm not going to, no, I know people who know hackers. Let's just say that. All right. So this is something that Russia is being bombarded by, obviously by Anonymous, and in a very impactful way. But again, United States cyber, we are bombarding Russia. Okay. Anybody that's got any kind of hacks to grind, they're bombarding Russia cyber, because this is the next generation of war. Those that keep fighting past wars in the present generally lose. And this is the new battlefield at the moment anyway, and probably far distant into the future. And that's why we're not getting attacked. Russia doesn't have any time to even attack Ukraine cyber wise, because they're on the defense constantly. I mean, constantly. They're getting pounded, and they need to keep getting pounded. And that's what Anonymous is telling us. You know, I talk about this all the time. We need to unite as one here in this country. And I'm going to lay it all out for you in just a few minutes. But we need to, for our own good, because if we don't stop things now, then it'll be too late. And I'm not being over dramatic or anything. I'm just playing chess instead of checkers. So, Putin was clear about his plans for Ukraine. Xi has been just as clear about his plans for Taiwan. However, some things have happened. Okay. I'm gonna kind of connect all the dots. That's why I've got the whole world map up here at the moment. This may take me 10 minutes. Okay. This is analysis, not necessarily news, but I hope you'll stick with me through this. Okay. I've said, and I've played clips of both Ukrainians and Russians saying this is not about Ukraine. Again, there are those that are fighting, trying to analyze and strategize about what's happening in Ukraine now based upon everything that's happened in the past. Now, there are some obvious asinine military strategies that Moscow's employing that they've done in the past they haven't learned from, but that's not what I'm saying. Again, playing chess, all right, instead of checkers. And it's not about Ukraine. It's about Putin. It's about Putin. And before I get started, at the moment, it is solely about Ukraine. All right. Make no mistake about it. It is solely about Ukraine at the moment. But the big picture is Ukraine is a stage. Ukraine is a platform. And before I begin, I think that again, what Putin told Z, which we just showed before I started talking, I think Z, like most of us, thought Russia would be a much different fighting force than it has shown to be, whether that be through corruption, in the fact that they don't really have as many tanks as we thought they had, because even though we saw them purchasing those tanks, actually the money was going into somebody else's pocket and not actually for a tank. I mean, the yachts, or poor maintenance, or it's just an army on paper. But whatever, we're going on 3 weeks, and this was supposed to be over in 2 days. So either somebody sold Putin a lie, and Putin told Z, we'll have this easily. We'll get the focus on us, and then you take Taiwan, and then we'll, strengthen our partnership. Whatever. I'm basing what I've got here on that meeting, okay, before we saw what we've seen from Russia. Ukraine is the first move in the game, and it's a game nobody wanted to play except Putin. He's been setting this up for a very long time, and if Trump would have won, Putin would have taken Ukraine with little resistance, because Trump would have pulled the US out of NATO, and NATO probably would have collapsed. Now, Trump's mission is to start a war here in our country to divide our country, or to put it in Trump's hands. It was never about Ukraine, big picture. Here's how it was supposed to play out, and could still possibly play out. What Putin and China said when they were in their summit. This is what I predict that we will learn they said in their summit: that Russia invades Ukraine, that Putin already has his people anti-Ukraine. They've been anti-Ukraine for decades. That they get the West, America, and ununited NATO, because nobody expected NATO to behave as they have. They get the West and ununited NATO into Ukraine. That's move number 2. China invades Taiwan. Move number 3. US, Japan, Australia, South Korea come to the defense of Taiwan. Move number 4. US is fighting on 2 fronts, Ukraine and, let me move the map a little bit here. US is fighting on 2 fronts, Ukraine and the South China Sea. Let's move number 5. US is attacked by Iran, North Korea, to try to open up even more fronts, possibly. Move number 6. The goal is to bleed the US and the Western European nations dry. No oil, no gas, no food, nothing. for the Western nations or the United States, cripple the economies, and beat them into oblivion militarily with superior forces. That's what's being sold, okay? So, move number 6. And by doing that, by bleeding, this is geopolitical, okay? By bleeding the United States dry, by bleeding all of the Western European nations dry, it basically sets up a new power structure of the East being in charge, being in control, having all of the money, all of the assets, all of the influence, the Russian oil, the Chinese technologies, and refusing to sell or to help anyone in the West. All right. It's all about money. It always has been. So you've got a new Eastern Bloc, potentially China, Russia, North Korea, possibly. And again, they just launched. They just launched today. Sorry, I'm down in Vietnam, North Korea, and possibly Iran. So all of those are nuclear. Cuba, maybe. Venezuela. Before, you would think Venezuela would probably align with this new bloc. But that's why I think Biden has been trying to reach out to Venezuela. It's not really about the oil, although that's the cover. It's really about trying to get relations with Venezuela so they're not on the other side. Big picture. Now, if that were to happen, if Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, then India gets pretty nervous. Afghanistan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Mongolia, they all fall in line. But there could be a problem with the Muslim nations. They may feel threatened, and they may form an alliance, and they may form an alliance with the African nations, and then this mega alliance cuts off all the Europeans, all of the America. I think that's a possible plan. Permanently cripples the West. Now, assuming a win, and assuming Russia would win in its first move, which they haven't, and I don't think they will. And that's why NATO, this is my opinion, okay? That's why we are where we're at now. Basically, it's a stalemate on the ground in Ukraine, but Russia has air superiority. They may not have quote unquote control of the skies, but they have not won the first move. And China is starting to reconsider how strongly they are going to support Russia, as we'll see in some upcoming reports. So, assuming Russia and China both won in their first moves, which they haven't, and since they haven't, that's why I feel NATO, led by European troops, because they have, it's not because I'm concerned about Americans' ability to fight. Okay, not. But symbolically, they have the most to lose, and they're going to be the most motivated. So they are the driving force. Not that America doesn't get involved because we have to, but this can't be an American-led thing because all of these countries are important. It's not just about us. So that's the geopolitical aspect of it, is that European troops, probably led by Poland, because they have the most to lose and the most motivation to stop this. And we meaning the West, we meaning the United States and NATO, we end this, and we end it in a way that China doesn't want to make. Move number 2, which is going after Taiwan. And we can do that without it being nuclear. It's a tightrope. It's an incredible tightrope. And I think, just like we heard from Anonymous, we have to end this now. We have to end this now. And we have to maintain peace at home. We have to understand that even though there are so many that want to make this a white and black thing, and I just showed you how it could very easily be propagandized into that. It's not a white and black thing when it comes to America. It shouldn't be. It should be an us thing. And I hope it is, because we have to maintain peace at home, because if we become vulnerable, I just showed you how everything could line up against us and how it possibly still can. So I believe we have to move now, and we have to maintain peace at home. We have to. And we have to walk a fine line so that it doesn't go nuclear. And remember, they have threatened to blow up. They've got about 1,500 nuclear missiles deployed. They got about 3,000 in storage, and the rest of them are in maintenance, supposedly. Okay. And I reported it, but I don't have the guy's name who said it, and I don't have the recording at the moment. I'm trying to get it, but what the guy said was chilling. He said, this is about getting America into war. And he said, well, if that happens, won't it go nuclear? And he said, we're not worried about that. We'll never fire one of our ballistic missiles. We'll blow them all in the tubes. And the guy said, well, that'll destroy Russia. And he says, no, that'll destroy the world. And when I heard it, and it was just chilling, but it got me thinking, when a nuclear explosion happens, it's not like it blows a giant crater necessarily, and big chunks, that the earth is going to somehow become imbalanced, and because of land mass. That's not what would happen. If they were to somehow blow them all, the potential of just slightly shifting the earth's revolution around the sun, even by just slightest bit, can indeed eventually lead to the destruction of the world. So the guy wasn't kidding. It was probably propaganda. It was probably to intimidate, but would you put it past Putin, knowing what we've shared with you about Putin, that chances are he's got terminal cancer and a Addison's disease, I believe. So, and plus he's narcissistic, and He either wants to rule the world or destroy it. If I can't have it, nobody can. And that's frightening. And what's even more frightening is we've got someone here that feels the same way. If I can't have America, nobody can. So I'm not sure what I wrote here. Okay. Yes, okay. Final thing there. We got to walk a fine line, and because we know they do have nukes, um, as as I'm not sure what word to use here. We need to hack in and gain control of all of their nuclear capabilities as quickly and as universally, for lack of a better term. Do it simultaneously is the word I was looking for. We need to do it simultaneously or as close to it as possible and take them all just off the grid, make them absolutely useless so that sword of Damocles isn't hanging over our head. And when that is accomplished, drive them back into Russia. And without their nuclear capabilities, if they refuse, beat them into submission. It's got to end now. It's 2022. We've got too much future ahead to allow our past history to not let us have that future ahead. We've all seen, those of us that studied history anyway, and if you haven't, just go back and study World War II just for a few hours, and you see what appeasement does. So those are my personal thoughts. Let's get back to our news real quick here, because I've taken up a little bit more time than I thought I would. Again, when they first met and Putin agreed not to start the attack until the Olympics were over in China, so it didn't make China look bad, and I think China wisely is going, this isn't you can kind of almost see the way he's looking at him. You can see almost the way that Xi's looking at Putin is, this is not going how you told me it was going to happen. So, and let's hope it keeps going in that way so that Russia becomes even more and more isolated. And while the threat is ever present that he drops a chemical, nuclear, biological bomb, or he unleashes the whole arsenal, the tighter the rope gets around him, the more dangerous he could possibly become. That doesn't mean we don't have to tighten the rope and tighten it as quick as possible and as expedient as possible and as permanent as possible. And that's my argument for why we need to at a very minimum, we need to let Poland give the jets that Ukraine needs to the jets, or that Ukraine needs. We need Poland to be able to do that without any pissing and moaning, and if Joe Biden shows just a little tiny bit of backbone, just a little tiny bit of strength, and if the United States doesn't fall prey to the cancer that's within us, on a political note, it could be a major win for Biden and the Democrats. If they look soft, then no matter how it comes out, Joe Biden loses. So, Joe, if you happen to hear this, we haven't talked since that fundraiser in Indianapolis way, way back, but it's time to man up, okay? It's time to man up. And if you have to, get a hold of me. I'll get you in touch with somebody with Anonymous. We'll see if we can't take all the nukes off the board and go in and sweep things up. Make Russia the 51st state. Make all that oil U.S. oil. Russia wants to do the same thing to us. No, I'm not kidding. Come on, stop laughing. I'm being very serious. Just 24 hours after the lady held up the anti-war sign, which was a stunt, in my opinion. I didn't think so when it happened last night. I thought, this woman, mother of two, successful, she just sacrificed herself because we'll never hear from her again. Little did we know she was going to be doing a press conference and a media tour. It was all about showing the world or showing the Russian people that, look, we don't mistreat protesters. See, it's a big con, just like the sanctions thing, which we will get to. But first of all, they got 60 Minutes in Russia, and it's hosted by Olga, and Olga wasn't happy. She got mad, and she said that Jennifer Paskey, White House press secretary, who's also sanctioned, she said that she made this statement that what Putin does in Ukraine, whether he uses biological weapons or drops a nuclear bomb, the United States won't get involved. That's what she got mad about. Okay. They want the United States involved. Now, that has nothing to do with me saying let's make Russia the 51st state. Member of Parliament, Oleg. We got Olga and Oleg. He's known for spouting Putin's propaganda. He showed a clip of Fox News host Tucker Carlson and says, after showing Carlson's post, or after showing Carlson's clip, he says, there isn't a single country in the world that is as easily manipulated as America. He's telling us Tucker Carlson is manipulating Americans. Okay, he's telling us that. And then he goes on to say that, all right, here's what's on the table after our victory, after Ukraine's demilitarization is completed. Well, wait a minute. It was denazification, wasn't it? Weren't they just going in there to denazify? No. Oh, they're going in there to demilitarize. Okay. That's key. I'm sorry, you may think that's a little tiny, but it's not. So after Ukraine is defeated, they're going to raise the stakes. Russia is going to demand lifting of all sanctions. They're going to demand the dissolution of NATO because the president of NATO is some countries is getting in our way. These are his words, okay? Extradition of all war criminals, all right? Anybody that has fled persecution in Russia, they want them all back, and they want Zelensky, of course. And then he goes on to say, we should be thinking about reparations. They want to be paid back because of Ukraine attacking them. Serious. The return of all Russian properties, those of the Russian Empire, the Soviet Union, and current Russia, which has been seized in the United States, and so on. Are you including Alaska and Fort Ross? The host asked. That was my next point. Those as well as Antarctica. We discovered it, so it belongs to us. Also, the return of all medals that have been unlawfully taken from our sportsmen during all Olympic Games, as well as the more extraditions criminals will want. I think we should start voicing all that so they understand what will be on the table. So now we are learning what has been happening in these negotiations where Russia's coming in and they're saying, okay, all of this, and Ukraine's like going, no, you surrender and you get out of our country. So that's why the negotiations aren't going very well. We're showing you their positions. And so he wants Alaska back. And he says, I think we should start voicing all of that so they understand. Okay, I make sure I'm showing you, make sure you're reading along here with me. So they understand what will be on the table. You didn't want to talk to us about something small like Ukraine's neutrality. Okay, it's never been about Ukraine, but that is small. All right. So you didn't want to talk to us about that. So we're not talking to you at all. We're just giving you demands and conditions. So here's what you get. And that's not even all of it. Does your list, the host asks, does your list include a tactical nuclear strike, or are we going straight for the strategic one? It's not, would we consider nukes? And this is 60 Minutes. All right. This is the host of Russia's 60 Minutes asking this prime minister of Russia. Does your list include a tactical nuclear strike, or are we going straight for the strategic one? The host asks. It's not, are we going to use, would we consider using, it's which kind of strike are we going to see? What are we going to do to them? Which kind of strike are we going to see? So I hope you understand that showing you what I showed you about Anonymous, reading what I had written about how I feel and how I see the situation. It's, it's because we have to act now. So she says, does your list include a tactical nuclear strike, or are we going straight for the strategic one? And he says, what for? We can take them down without it. And he says, I still think that those who took our money should be told, you have 24 hours to unfreeze our funds, or else we'll send you what we've got. Your choice, tactical or strategic. Take a pick. You took our money. You're the thieves. Our talk is short with you. A bullet to the head. It's about money. It's always about money. Okay? It's always about money. If they use nukes, they're going to survive at least for a while because they're all going to be in bunkers. It's not about them, it's about us. And we need to unite now. If we don't, it may be too late. If we don't, it may be too late. Oh. I told you about 3 nights ago, I was given some information. I was told not to say where the information came from, that there was word that Ukraine could be coming into the possession of some Switchblade 300s and Switchblade 600s. Now, the Switchblade 600, to my knowledge, is not even it's not even deployed with American forces yet. So if indeed Ukraine got that, that would be a major contribution from the United States. Even though you may cynically think it's not, it really truly is. I personally think instead of no-fly zones, this is the way we do this, and this is the way we control the skies. We meaning NATO, the good guys, democracies versus dictatorships. The Switchblade is used to hit targets that have already been identified by forward units or other surveillance aircraft. And that's what the Fortes are. That's what the AWACS are. Anyway, the forward units, those are the scout teams. And, we've had videos of them relaying a position back and then sitting back and videoing as targets obliterated. The surveillance aircraft fired by ground forces out of a mortar tube. The Switchblade already having directional coordinates when fired, then proceeds to the target and blows up on impact. So some people have said this is a loitering weapon, like it's a traditional drone that will fly around and then wait until there's a determined target, and then it'll get the coordinates of that determined target and go down and hit. I don't think that's what this is from the definition. I've seen it, and we're going to show you it being shot out of a tube, so you understand what that entails. This is the coordinates are programmed in. This thing is shot out of the tube, and it's going where those coordinates are, and it can go up to 4 miles away. And it's more like a kamikaze than a loitering drone, I think. I'm pretty certain. So that's what this is. This is the Switchblade 300, and that's what it looks like. Now, this part right here comes up. This wing here folds down. This clasps down, and it fits in a tube until it's released. Once it's released, it looks like this. There you can see it taking off. And the reports the U.S. government has approved a large transfer of the Aero Venermont Switchblade 300. All this time, and I had my microphone across the room. I apologize. Wow. The potential ballistic missile launch from North Korea kind of threw me off a bit for the night. I apologize for that. So there are reports that the U.S. government has approved a transfer. They're already there. And just the 300s. Now, the 300s, again, it's considered a kamikaze loitering munitions drone, travel over 4 miles to hit Russian targets. And it'll basically plant a claymore mine through the nose of this thing into its target. How impactful it'll be on armored vehicles, not sure yet. That's what the 600's for. The Switchblade 600 will have a Javelin rocket type ammunition to deploy, and it will be impacted into armor. So, to my knowledge, the U.S. doesn't even have those in its own force yet. So we'll see if those show up. But we know these are going to be there. The Switchblade 300. Oh, I'm not a
through civil law.
I'm not a. Of course, it would go to the wrong one. I'm not a huge vocal advocate of abortion. I think it's a decision that should be made between a doctor and a woman.
In Texas.
And I think they should be rare and they should be legal. But what they're trying to do here,
this bill is modeled directly after the legislation passed in Texas last year.
Yeah.
Abortions, since that bill has been passed, has dropped 60% in Texas since that bill was passed. While the Texas law prohibits abortion once medical professionals can detect cardiac activity, usually around 6 weeks, the Tennessee language proposes to prohibit all abortion. Courts have blocked other states from imposing similar restrictions, but this law differs significantly because it leaves enforcement up to private citizens through civil lawsuits instead of criminal prosecutors. The Texas Supreme Court recently upheld this bill, ensuring this bill remains in the Texas law for the unforeseeable future.
So, okay. Now the point of that is not that it bans all abortion, even though I don't believe that should happen. The point of that is they're taking it out of the hands of the courts, putting it into the hands of the people. And it was clarified. It would be permissible for any family member of a rapist to sue the victim of rape for proceeding with an abortion. And in Texas, they are actually calling for the death penalty if a woman has an abortion. I don't know. Maybe that's what everybody in the country wants. But if not, I think it's time we stopped. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Battle lines being drawn. Nobody's right. Everybody's wrong. Young people speaking their mind and getting so much resistance from behind. The U.S. Senate has now unanimously passed a resolution condemning Russia's President Putin as a war criminal. Let me repeat that. The U.S. Senate has now unanimously passed a resolution. So, Senate Republicans and Democrats all came together. That's what unanimous means. And they passed a resolution confirming him as a war criminal. The Republicans kind of locked themselves in a box. They can't say anything bad about Putin. Is that a good box to lock themselves in? I would think so. We'll see what happens with the other branch of Congress. That's the Senate. We know what a lot of the House of Representatives' points of view are, especially Republicans. Just something to think about. The same people that will be voicing opposition to democracy and to Ukraine are the same people that want to control every single move in your life, whether you vote for them and support them or not. I'm not just talking about abortion either. There are a lot of Republican senators and Congress people that have publicly voiced and they have sworn that they're going to do away with Social Security and Medicare within 5 years. Now, Social Security, for those that, they're social, it's socialism. Hell yes, it's socialism. It's also my money. I paid into it. I paid into it as well as my employers have paid into it. It's not the government's money at all. They're just supposed to hold it for us. But they keep robbing it, and we keep letting them. They keep robbing it, and we keep letting them. And now they're saying they're going to just stop it. And if you're okay with that, okay. If you're not, we need to come together. Come together right now. NATO is set to tell its military commanders on Wednesday, that's now later on today, to draw up plans for new ways to deter Russia following Moscow's invasion of Ukraine, including more troops and missile defenses in Eastern Europe, from multiple sources. So, again, the Prime Minister of Czechoslovakia, or the Czech Republic, of Slovenia and of Slovakia and of Poland all went to Kyiv today. They traveled by train across the country. They saw the devastation. They saw the situations, and Poland is ready to act now. And I say, at the bare minimum, let them transfer those planes. If that's what Ukraine wants, quit trying to tell Ukraine, here, we got a better way. They need planes, and give them the planes. Should have done a long time ago. So anyway, new battle plans are being drawn, battle lines being drawn. And I mentioned at the very beginning that NATO was conducting exercises. It's called Cold Response 22, and it's in Norway. 200 aircraft, 30,000 allied troops taking part in the Norwegian-led exercises, and also B-52 bomber task force, and basically just kind of letting Russia know that if you really want to do this, we can. And I think with that amount of force already put together now, we should. And again, neutralize, take them all offline. Every single nuclear warhead in Russia, every single missile, because they've got multiple warheads on them. Take out every single missile in Russia. And it would take a concerted effort, a coordinated effort, a bunch of people trusting each other that normally don't trust each other, for the good of humanity. I'm going to save this till tomorrow, but it's interesting. Again, North Korea may have launched it could be a missile. It could be an intercontinental ballistic missile, and it did not reach space. It got off the launching pad and was a failure. That's all we know. We don't know if it blowed up or if it got blown up. At any rate, we're going to have to keep an eye on that nation. The head of the Polish ruling party indicated tonight in Kyiv, after meeting with President Zelensky, that the negotiations are still ongoing on how to deliver the MiG-28s, not if they're going to, but how they're going to deliver them. So I think it's good. I think Poland's going, look, United States, you're all the way over there. And they're right. Look, you're all the way over there. You don't get your wheat from Ukraine. You're not really truly threatened by Russia invading you. We are, and we've been wanting to do something, and now it's time. So let's see. I just hope that it is a unified NATO if it does happen. Now, the Ukrainians are kicking butt and taking names on the ground, and this was unconfirmed at the time. It's since been confirmed that there was a large Ukrainian counteroffensive in the northwest of the capital, and they actually, I believe, they driven the Russians completely out of Irpin and Hostomel and Bucha. Not so much success with Kharkiv. They attempted a similar offensive in Kharkiv and early where it was not as successful. I found this something I wanted to just pop in front of you all to just give you something to think about. A week ago, a barrel of a barrel of oil cost $128, and it now costs, I think it's like 96 now. But and then gas a week ago was $4.17, and of course the week before that it was like $3.25. And it's now $4.32. So it was $128 a barrel, and then it went to $4.17. Now it's dropped to $99 a barrel, and it's up to $4.32. Oil company profits are at 7-year highs. They get $180 billion a year in government subsidies. They get $188 billion of our tax money every year. And they're issuing $88 billion in buybacks and dividends, for those of you that know the markets. As he said, do the math. It's not algebra. Another general was killed, just to confirm who he is, and I'm not showing you the next picture to be gruesome or to dehumanize. Just I'm showing you that here's that general, and he's still laying there in the snow. So either all of his troops were killed along with him, or they didn't care enough about him to the field, and he's the general. Either one is a very unique, for lack of a better term, and that's not really a good term, but it's not standard operating procedure. Okay. Again, Ukraine launched its first major offensive. We've already touched on that. Here is the report from today. This was 7 hours ago now, from the Minister of Defense, and Russia's increasingly seeking to generate additional troops to bolster and replace its personnel losses in Ukraine. As a result of these losses, it's likely Russia is struggling to conduct offensive operations in the face of sustained Ukraine resistance. Okay, I paid attention to you. Now go away. Continued personnel losses will only make it difficult for Russia to secure occupied territory. taking something and then holding on to it are two different things, militarily specifically. Russia's redeploying forces from as far afield as the Eastern Military District. Okay. Here's Ukraine. Russia's a big old place. They're bringing people from all the way over here. Okay. All the way over here to fight in Ukraine. You know what? You bring enough of those people from over here or from up here, and all of NATO's sitting right over here. Man, they're vulnerable. And if you take too many from over here, well, right here's Alaska. Again, let's just take a little part of it. Let's just make this much of it ours. Okay, we'll just make this. We won't, we'll think of a catchy name. Biden. Oh no, we'll call it. No, we couldn't do that either. I was going to say we'll call it Clinton land, but that would make me throw up. But let's just take, well, no, let's come down here a little bit more, make sure we get all the oil fields. So, but anyway, you take, he's draining his military. It is not what the world thought it would be. He doesn't have 850,000 troops. He doesn't. And I'm glad. I'm glad that it's not any better. So one of the things they're talking about, redeploying forces from as far as fields, the Eastern Military District and Pacific Fleet and Armenia, is also increasingly seeking to exploit irregular sources, private military companies, Syrian and other mercenaries. We already know about all that. We've been talking about that for, everybody else is catching up to us now. We've been talking about that for a long time. Russia will likely attempt to use these forces to hold captured territory and free up its combat power to renew stalled offensive operations. They got so many troops involved with trying to keep Mariupol, which is, it's 300,000 people, but it's not a massive city. And they can't control it. And they're going to bring in hired mercenaries to try to control the territory they've taken and free up their supposedly loyal, because they don't care what happens to the people of Mariupol. They don't care if they get butchered or raped or cannibalized. They don't care what the mercenaries and the Syrians and whoever does. They're going to say, hold this area because we need our troops that we know are going to be loyal to us fighting on the front lines. And that's desperation. That's desperation. And I think China knows it. I think China knows it well. And this is according to Bloomberg. And China's support for Russia in the war in Ukraine is showing its limits as the domestic costs for President Xi started to outweigh the benefits of confronting the U.S. Again, this whole episode is all tied together with all of this. And as we said, when Xi and Putin met, I think what Putin told Xi, how he laid it all out, is not anywhere close to what Xi's seeing actually happen. And the Hong Kong stock market, we talked about this, the Hong Kong stock market fell. Russia's trying to switch over to the yuan, YUAN, the Chinese dollar. to kind of work around the sanctions, and the United States is warning China that, look, don't do that. And I think China sees the devastation that the sanctions have put on Russia in such a short amount of time. We showed you food fights. They're not, I'll have a whole bunch coming up because it's just getting started. And I don't think China wants to go through that. So that is a big plus, in that we may not have to, we may still have to do the Taiwan thing, but not both at the same time. So that would be a plus. Not having to do either one of them would be the ultimate, but that's, my friends, that's not the case. Now, again, this came in 7 hours ago. Poland's deputy prime minister, after meeting with Ukraine's president, said a NATO peace mission or a wider alliance is needed, which will operate in Ukraine. So basically, what Poland's prime minister is saying is, we're ready to go. If NATO doesn't want to get behind us, then we'll form another alliance with Poland, Czech Republic, and Slovakia, and the three of us will join Ukraine, and we will fight. And then once one of them is attacked, they're a NATO country, and that triggers Article 5. Everybody else is free to come in, because Poland can decide without NATO, we're going to do this. And then NATO has to decide, well, they're doing this. If they do get attacked, are we going to support them? And our country said unequivocally yes. So that could be the political backdoor that allows Biden to be more aggressive, and allows the military U.S. military to take some involvement. And because I think they really want to. I think the U.S. military really wants to have some conventional warfare after the guerrilla battles the unconventional warfare they've endured. Just a thought. Okay, and this is one of those, are you effing kidding me? The Wisconsin Elections Commission has decided not to sanction a group of Republicans who falsely claimed to be presidential electors in 2020. These people were trying to steal the presidential election under the direction of Donald Trump, and the Wisconsin Election Commission says they're not going to be sanctioned. Quote, GOP Commissioner Bob Spindell, who was one of the fake electors, voted not to sanction himself. Friends, this is our government, okay? This is our government. We have to make some radical changes. I'm not saying overthrow our government. I'm saying overthrow the two political parties before it's too late. We have to unite, as incredibly massive as an undertaking as it is. We have to unite under some sort of political organization that is not Republican, not Democrat, but it is the human party. Okay? The human party. It's not about corporations, and it's not about pet projects. It's about human beings. Just something to think about if we survive the coming next few weeks. Okay, I'll play that tomorrow. again, just to kind of reiterate, yet another source saying China wants to avoid U.S. sanctions over Russia's war. It's reported by Bloomberg, but it's a different Chinese official. And yeah, I'm going to do that tomorrow too. This is the Fox News producer that Fox News failed to mention all the way up until, I think, what's his name, Brett. I don't know, the one that's like not a. I shouldn't say that, because there are some good reporters at Fox News, and then there are absolute asshats, and most of the asshats outweigh the good reporters by a wide margin. But I showed you this afternoon in the first episode, the short episode, the brief, that Fox News, instead of talking, and not only did they mention her, they didn't mention the cameraman, who was a Fox employee. They didn't mention her because she was from Ukraine. All right, she didn't count. She didn't matter. And they didn't mention the cameraman. They were talking about pajama bottoms from Target. I'm not making that up. But this is the young lady that lost her life trying to tell the story of what was really happening in her country. And she was killed along with her cameraman. And and we didn't know about those two things. We heard right away that the reporter was hurt, and that he had shrapnel fractures in both legs. And the last report I had was he lost one of the legs and would possibly lose the other. Again, this guy, Brian, whatever his name is, I haven't watched Fox in the morning since this dude showed up. Anyway, it got so bad today, this guy got exasperated. Okay, he eventually said, "No, stop it." She repeatedly insisted that the U.S. provoked Russia into war. And he finally said, "We did not provoke the war, they did." So even Fox News people are starting to really get like uncomfortable with the intentional division that is Trumpian. It all comes from Trump, you know. I'm sorry, but I was going to save these things, and I'm not now. Now that I've shown that, we'll just go ahead. I'm going to go a little bit longer than I had planned. Hold on, I don't want to go all the way up here. All right. Okay. First of all, a little, it's not really levity, but I might have some levity for you here in a minute. But this is it's obviously it's a movie. This isn't this isn't news. Okay. This is a movie, a portrayal of Adolf Hitler. And what they've done is it's a comparison of how the position Hitler was in, position Putin's in. Hitler's behavior, Putin's behavior. And again, this isn't news. This is just, some might find it amusing. Nobody wants to tell him any bad news. Again, just very well done. A humorous meme. All right, not in any way to be considered. Not in any way to be considered news. And I'm going to play this, another little piece of art that someone put together that just kind of says a lot. I could talk 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and
I'm the one that put all the sanctions on my people.
And this just tells you, this just shows you propaganda, okay? You always accuse other people of what you're doing. You tell lies so big enough, you tell lies big enough and often enough, they become the truth. And in this case, I think maybe the lies have become true to him, which is incredibly problematic.
Nobody was ever tougher on Russia than me. I'm the one that stopped the pipeline. I had it stopped. I'm the one that put all the sanctions on.
Okay, first of all, those are lies, in case you didn't know.
My people came to me, Dan Coates came to me, and some others. They said they think it's Russia. I have President Putin. He just said it's not Russia. I will say this, I don't see any reason why it would be. As everyone understands, this horrific disaster would never have happened if our election was not rigged. And if I was the president.
You know, I was in Moscow a couple of months ago. I owned the Miss Universe pageant. And they treated me so great. Putin even sent me a present. Beautiful present with a beautiful note.
I stopped this pipeline. I thanked them more than anybody ever thanked them.
Putin called me a genius. Putin said Donald Trump is a genius.
Nobody was ever tougher on Russia.
But if the United States got along with Russia, wouldn't be so bad.
This would not have happened during my administration.
Putin's a killer. A lot of killers. A lot of killers. Why do you think our country's so innocent?
In fact, some people were saying, why did this take place over the last 4 years during our administration? And it didn't for a very good reason. And I'll explain that to you someday.
I don't think Putin has any respect whatsoever for Clinton. I think he does respect me. And I hope I get along great with him.
I'm sure you do. We know you do. He financed your campaigns. Your kids told us. We need to come together now, those of us who believe in real, true democracy. Even though the candidates are shit at the moment, we can come together. And we got to do it now because they're changing election laws where not only are you not going to be, not only they're going to eliminate how many people can vote, they're going to definitely try to control who can run. So before it gets too late, we need to do something independently, independent of the Republicans, independent of the Democrats. And it's going to be hard. It's going to take a lot of us. But if we don't do it now, it will be too late. It's heavy, but it's true. And maybe most of you, maybe none of you can see that yet, but okay. There it is. I'm going to end with a little attempt at some humor here. We've talked about the sanctions and Putin leveling the sanctions. Breaking news. Russia is sanctioning Joe Biden. I couldn't find my MAGA hat, so I've got Eric's Grubhub hat. But it's awesome. It's huge. Eric's the best. He's a Trump. Wow, it's a terrible thing in so many ways. Perhaps it will not be explained why the Biden family received $3.5 million from the very wealthy former mayor of Moscow. That's how you know it's him, okay? That's how you know he's the one that wrote this, because no other person is going to write the very wealthy mayor of the former mayor of Moscow. During our presidential debate, Chris Wallace, moderator, then of Fox, thought he would be my friend. He wouldn't let me ask the question. He said it was inappropriate. Perhaps that's why Biden has been so slow on the draw with Russia. This is a really bad conflict of interest that will perhaps now be fully and finally investigated. Again, accuse others of that which you are guilty of. Tell lies so big that people will believe them. And what is the number one enemy of the state? The truth. The last thing Trump ever really wants is the truth. Now, in rehearsal, that impression was much better, but I had expanded the font so I could read it a lot better. So it didn't come off quite the way I wanted, but nonetheless, I'm not sanctioned. None of my family sanctioned. No Republican is on the sanction list because I'm good friends with Poot, and I are good friends, and you don't sanction your friends. Now, while the sanctions themselves are absolute bullcrap, doesn't it say something that not a single Republican is on the list, despite a lot of them hammering him pretty hard? What's Trump told him? What has Trump told him? Has Trump given him secrets? Trump cannot have Putin lose. If Putin's taken alive, Trump might get hung. Trump cannot have Putin lose. Trump will destroy America to save himself. And if we go to war with each other here in this country, we destroy America. I showed you the clip the other day. I'm going to show it again tomorrow. Hopefully, I'm going to have a guest on tomorrow from open source intelligence tomorrow night. Hopefully we'll be able to record it tomorrow afternoon and be on. I'll air it live tomorrow night if I have it. But I'm going to play it again tomorrow night because he's warning, he's preparing, he's conditioning, he's telling his people that they're going to have to die for him. And, you're going to have to lay down your lives. You're going to have to lay down your lives for me, because in his eyes, he is America. When he says you're going to have to lay down your life for America, he's saying you're going to have to lay down your life for me because I'm America. And that's some powerful propaganda. And it's something that I honestly don't think we should take lightly. We shouldn't laugh it off. We shouldn't brush it off. We should realize how serious it is. And with that, I'm going to say thank you for watching. I will be back. I'll be back tomorrow night. I'll probably be back tomorrow, either late morning or late afternoon. I'm not sure because I've got some things, a couple obligations got to take care of. But I will have a report at some time, a brief, like always, and then we'll be doing the expanded Friday or Wednesday night edition of our nightly report, and we're going to keep on doing it as long as democracy, freedom, equality, justice are all threatened, and they are all threatened. And I thank you all for watching, and thank you for sticking around through all of this. And again, we'll be back. I'll have a brief in the afternoon, and then we'll be back on tomorrow night at our regular time of 10 o'clock. And again, I pushed it back because North Korea launched a missile, and I wanted to make sure that I had all the information on that before coming on. So thank you again for staying up with me. Thank you for watching. Hit the subscribe button if you're on YouTube, and the notification bell. And if you want to toss some money into the super chat, it's always appreciated. If you want to help out, keep the show on the air, it's Cashapp, American Dufus, AMERICANDUFUS, all one word. And you can email me, americandufus@gmail.com. You can message me, direct message or regular message on Facebook or on Twitter. So again, thank you so much for watching. I love you all. It is a dark world. Do try to be a light. This has been News Done Differently. I'm your host, Barry Welsh. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your Wednesday.